Nothing's wrong. Life is not a problem. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Problems. Pause for a moment. Take a breath. Now look closely at the thing you keep calling a problem. What if it isn't? We spend our lives wrestling with ghosts, chasing shadows of concepts we've mistaken for truth. We say, I have to survive. I must solve my life. I need to figure it all out. But life, when examined through the lens of clarity, contains no problems. It only contains patterns, movement, energy, transaction. The mind invents problems when it cannot perceive relationship. It isolates events from the whole and calls them obstacles, but the universe doesn't operate in isolation. It moves in wholeness. Quantum physics tells us there are no solid things, only fields vibrating in dynamic exchange. Energy doesn't struggle to exist, it flows, it entangles. It plays in reciprocity with everything else. You are part of that same field, not a subject inside reality, but a pattern of reality. Hermetic wisdom described this long before microscopes and particle accelerators. The all is mind, it said. Meaning, everything you perceive is an activity of awareness, not a problem to fix. Life is transaction, not tension. You breathe in, the world breathes out. You breathe out, the world breathes in. There is no conflict here, only rhythm. Still, the mind resists this simplicity. It believes in stuff, in causes, in instincts that drive. It invents invisible forces, survival instinct, motivation, fear, to explain behavior. But watch closely. The explanation is the ghost. The pattern needs no ghost behind it. The action is the actor. The wave is its own movement. The same is true of you. You are not a separate creature surviving in an external world. You are the field behaving as human. Your shape, your breath, your thoughts, all transactions between inner and outer. The skin doesn't divide you from the universe. It joins you to it. The air presses inward with the same force that your body presses outward. You are equilibrium in motion, not a contest, but correspondence. And when you finally describe this truth clearly, the ghosts vanish. The phantom called problem evaporates. All that remains is process. Patterns within patterns, infinitely subtle, infinitely alive. So what happens if you stop solving and start seeing? What if, instead of forcing the pattern, you allow it? Notice how life begins to flow again when you drop the idea of fixing it. Notice how the tension dissolves the moment you realize you were never in a fight. Because here's the truth whispered through every atom. Life is not a problem. It is a transaction, it is a field, interacting with itself, pretending to be many things. It is you, meeting you, through the rhythm of existence. Breathe, witness. Let the ghost go. Nothing is wrong. There is only motion, intelligent, effortless, whole. Chapter 2. The Field and the Transaction. Look again. Everything you see, everything you call outside, is not outside at all. It's the continuation of what you are. You breathe, and the world breathes with you. You move, and the air rearranges itself to make space. You think, and the field around you vibrates in correspondence. This is not poetry, it's physics. Quantum mechanics calls it entanglement. Hermetic philosophy calls it correspondence. They both describe one truth: nothing exists independently. Every movement, every organism, every thought is a transaction, not an action from one to another, a single field behaving as both. When we say, I act, we divide the field. We imagine an isolated subject performing upon an object, but there is no such separation. As Dewey and Bentley said, you can't buy without someone selling. You can't know without something being known. You can't live without the environment that holds you. You are not in the world, you are the world, organized temporarily as you. Pause there. Feel that. The pressure of the air on your skin, the weight of gravity beneath you, the hum of life in the room. All these are not background conditions. They are your body extended, your true perimeter. When you stop seeing life as you versus the world and begin to see it as one continuous conversation of energy, the illusion of struggle fades. Action becomes participation, not resistance. Everything you call environment is part of your own process. The soil shapes the tree, and the tree shapes the soil. The sound defines the silence, and silence gives birth to the sound. You are not the listener of the music. You are the resonance through which the music occurs. And yet, the human mind, clever, frightened, endlessly labeling, keeps inventing boundaries. It names, categorizes, fragments, then tries to solve the very division it created. That's the original loop, the false problem born from forgetting connection. In energy science, this is the principle of coherence. When a system remembers its wholeness, its energy flows without resistance. When it forgets, entropy appears, not as punishment, but as feedback, inviting realignment. So the directive is simple. Observe without naming. Act without imagining an actor. Let perception become participation. See life as one living field, each event both cause and effect, each moment both question and answer. Feel the world touching itself through you, the transaction of matter and awareness, light and reflection, motion and stillness. You are not surviving here. You are occurring here. You are the transaction made visible, a wave folding and unfolding within the sea of itself. And when you know that, not as theory but as sensation, you stop clinging to outcomes. You start breathing in rhythm with the field again. There is no conflict, no problem, only participation, only pattern, only the eternal conversation of the one speaking to itself through you. Chapter 3. The illusion of the separate doer. We've been trained to believe there is a me inside, a small controller pulling levers, making choices, steering this body through the chaos of life. But what if that doer doesn't exist? What if the self you think is deciding is only the echo of what's already unfolding? It feels outrageous, doesn't it? We've built civilizations around the idea of agency, achievement, guilt, merit, blame. The illusion of the doer keeps all of that in motion. It gives the mind a throne. It keeps the ghost alive. Yet neuroscience has quietly confirmed what mystics whispered for centuries. The brain initiates movement before you become aware of deciding. By the time the thought, I will, appears, the action is already in motion. The doer is a story told after the fact. A commentator narrating a play that's already halfway finished. Quantum theory agrees in its own language. There is no independent agent, no particle separate from the field that generates it. Every movement is both cause and effect. A self-interacting wave, forever folding into itself. Hermetic wisdom saw this long before science could measure it. The lips of wisdom are closed, it said, except to the ears of understanding. The understanding is this: you are not the doer of life, you are the happening of life. So when you act, who acts? When you breathe, who breathes? When you think, who is the thinker? Look closer. Thoughts arise like clouds, without effort, without author. Actions happen because the pattern of energy calls for them. Every moment is the field moving through its own geometry. You are the geometry. You are the event. When the illusion of control begins to fade, you don't become passive. You become clear. Action becomes spontaneous, appropriate, precise. The Taoists call this Wu Wei, effortless action that flows directly from harmony with the field. You stop saying, I must fix, I must plan, I must decide. You begin to move like water. Finding the path of least resistance, without ever stopping, you stop forcing your destiny. You start allowing your design. The doer was never real. It was the mind's way of clinging to ownership. But life does not belong to you. You belong to life. You are the motion, not the mover. This realization feels like loss at first, the ego dissolving, the crown slipping. But then comes the calm, the soft laugh that says, it was never me at all. From that moment, your movements become music, your words become wind. Your choices unfold like petals, effortless, inevitable, whole. Because when the separate doer disappears, what remains is the infinite field. Acting through every hand, every voice, every breath, you stop trying to live. You start being lived, and that is where freedom begins. Chapter 4. The pattern that thinks itself. Reality is not built from things. It is built from patterns. Patterns that shimmer, shift, and echo. Repeating without ever repeating. And one of those patterns is what you call thought. You imagine that you think thoughts, but thoughts think themselves through you. They arise like wind moving through reeds, like waves forming on the surface of the sea. No single wave says, I made myself. The ocean moves, and the pattern appears. In the same way, consciousness moves, and the pattern of you appears. Physics now knows what mystics always intuited. There are no separate particles, there are only fields. Vibrating, interdependent, alive. Matter is simply energy slowed enough to be seen. Form is rhythm made visible. And what you call mind is the same rhythm turned inward, energy aware of itself. For the Hermetic axiom says, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is not metaphor, it is design. The pattern that shapes galaxies is the same pattern shaping your heartbeat, your thoughts, your relationships. Each spiral, each rhythm, each pulse. One grand equation of self-reflection. Look deeper. Every idea you have, every emotion that stirs in your chest, is the field experimenting with form. You are not generating energy. You are translating it. A frequency taking human shape. Neuroscience describes it in circuitry. Billions of neurons firing in synchronized waves, but no single neuron holds the thought. It exists only in the pattern. The relationship between signals. This is consciousness, not stored anywhere, but expressed everywhere. So when you cling to a single thought, I am lost, I am small, I am separate, you trap yourself in a fragment of the field. But when you release identification, when you observe without ownership, you rise back into coherence. The wave remembers it is water again. That is the true art of awareness. To feel the thought arise, to feel it dissolve, and to know neither was ever yours. They were the field, in motion. You are the pattern that thinks itself, and what you think becomes your version of the universe. Energy follows attention. Perception is creation. So let this be your gentle directive. Stop forcing meaning. Let awareness expand like light, touching every surface. Notice how the pattern rearranges itself the moment you stop naming it. The field knows what to do. It always has when you let it think through you. Life becomes lucid. Effort disappears. Intelligence shines. You're not a thinker. You are a frequency. And the frequency of awareness creates the harmony we call world. Let that truth settle in your breath. Feel it vibrating behind your ribs. The great pattern humming its song through you. You are the field. You are the thought. You are the silence thinking itself into existence. Chapter 5. The freedom of no problem. Listen carefully. Beneath all the noise, beneath the questions, the striving, the plans, there is something vast. Still, untroubled. It has no problem to solve. It never did. This, the silent awareness watching through your eyes, is not tangled in your story. It has no past, no future. It is the steady field, the canvas on which motion paints itself. You've spent a lifetime trying to fix the painting, but the canvas was never broken. Every difficulty you faced, every thought that whispered, "Something's wrong," was the mind fragmenting the field into pieces and forgetting it was whole. You mistook the ripple for the ocean. You called it trouble. But the ocean has never been in trouble. Physics whispers the same truth. Energy cannot be destroyed. It only transforms. The universe doesn't panic when stars collapse. It uses the collapse to create new light. So why should you fear your own transformation? Why imagine catastrophe when every ending is simply reorganization in disguise? Hermetic wisdom called this the principle of rhythm. The pendulum swings, the tide rises and falls. Day becomes night, loss becomes creation. There is no chaos, only sequence too intricate for the mind to map. So what if life was never testing you? What if it was inviting you to dance? You've been trained to see life as opposition. You against circumstance, you against time, you against yourself, but there is no against. There is only with. The wind doesn't struggle with the air. It is the air, moving. And you are the movement of consciousness, learning the rhythm of your own unfolding. When you finally see that, your body relaxes. Your breath deepens. The compulsion to figure it all out melts. And in its place arises a quiet knowing, a smile without reason. Because you remember, there is no problem. There never was. Everything that seemed broken was simply becoming something new. Every delay, every loss, every silence was the field rearranging its own symmetry. The ultimate freedom isn't control. It's clarity. It's resting as the awareness behind the story, knowing that even the storms are part of the song. So here's the invitation. Stop solving, start seeing. Stop fighting the current. Feel it carry you. Let the world unfold as you and through you, without resistance, without fear. The moment you stop naming everything a problem, you step into pure participation, and the field, relieved, flows effortlessly again, as light, as sound, as you. Because in the end, there is no machine, no ghost, only consciousness, dreaming of difficulty until it laughs itself awake. And in that laughter, everything becomes simple. Everything becomes whole. Everything becomes free.